have that friend who wakes up early to go get everyone McDonald's breakfast while the rest of us sleep in. This is your sign to thank them. And if you're that friend, this is us saying thank you.
Just a friendly reminder that right now, get any size iced coffee before 11 a.m. for just 99 cents. And a satisfying sausage McMuffin with egg is just $2.79. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Local news, national news, even feel-good news, delivering the topics that are relevant to you.
That's why I listen to Joe. He covers it all.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
All right, let's bring the music down here. Let's bring the music down. We got to get serious pretty quick here. I've always believed in transparency with our audience. I like to be, and I really am compelled to be as honest with our audience as I am legally allowed to be. And for a few weeks now, we have been sitting on a secret. And it pains me to sit on a secret. But there is something that we have deliberately not been telling you. But we can now tell you the secret that we have been keeping for many weeks now. This is breaking news, personal news. And to break the news for you, we turn to Laurel Lee. Laurel?
I was supposed to maybe do a whole report, but instead I'll just give you the summarized version. I am having a baby.
Woohoo! Man, that is so exciting. I am so excited for you and for Alex and the rest of your family. I mean, I am jazzed. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. Yep, he's due in October. I say he, we don't know what it is yet. We've not gotten the gender reveal.
Yeah.
Husband's hoping for a boy, so I keep saying he, but...
So I'm 100% certain it's going to be a girl.
Yeah. Well, as you would, guess, I've gotten mixed results. I've gotten half people say girl, half people say boy. If it's a hippopotamus, I'll let you know.
Yes, please, by all means. Oh my gosh, I would love it if it was a baby hippopotamus. That would be the greatest story ever if it was a baby hippo. Well, okay, you're going to get all kinds of unsolicited advice from everybody. I'm sure you already are. Don't take anybody's unsolicited advice except for what I'm about to tell you. Okay.
The only one.
Yes. Take my unsolicited advice, but don't take anybody else's unsolicited advice. Do not tell anybody the names that you are considering until after your daughter is born and already has the name.
Says the father of Black & Decker.
Yes. Yes, but we didn't tell anybody until they were born, because especially if you're going to put forth a unique name, you don't want to tell people what you're going to name a boy or a girl, and they're going to be like, oh, that's that's horrible. I mean, you don't want to hear that. And then, but once your child is born, people won't say that. They'll say, oh, how nice. I just found a subreddit today, not to get too far off the topic. There's a subreddit that I found, and it's tragedy, but it's spelled TRADGIE. And it is an entire subreddit dedicated to people who name their babies weird things. and so they're known as tragedy babies, and people who their name is like Michael, but it's spelled like, MIKALLIE or something like that. And it's just crazy spelling for names and stuff. So just don't tell anybody. That is my unsolicited advice.
I'll take it. We were just discussing this the other day with friends, and a friend of mine is changing his name for reasons not important. But he started saying what he thinks he's going to change it to, and all of a sudden everybody was like, that sounds like a NASCAR name. That sounds like you're going to send him. And I'm like, that's why you don't tell people what you're naming your baby there.
Precisely. Don't have that discussion with anybody. And then after your daughter is born, you will still continue to get all kinds of unsolicited advice. And don't listen to people. People will have all kinds of crazy advice on how to do it. Okay, I'm going to give you one more piece of unsolicited advice. My only piece of unsolicited advice after my other last piece of unsolicited advice is after your daughter is born, just make sure that you're getting enough rest. Because so many times new moms will stay awake 24 hours a day for days on end, doting over their newborn child. And sometimes, and you get that postpartum, not necessarily depression per se, but you get postpartum stress and postpartum sleeplessness. And man, that's how we torture people, is by sleep deprivation. And sleep deprivation can just be really bad. So just make sure you get lots of rest. Okay, that was my 2 pieces of unsolicited advice. And then, of course, my 3rd piece of unsolicited advice is don't take anybody's unsolicited advice, okay?
Roger, got it. Thank you.
Square. All right, well, congratulations. We are all so thoroughly excited for you, and we can't wait to follow the process along with you. You're past the morning sickness phase, I'm told.
98%. Yeah. Every so often I'll get a wave and I'm like, oh, I thought I was gone. There it is. But for the most part, I'm raring to go. I'm in my 2nd trimester, so we're good.
So the reason why I even asked, the reason why we brought this up tonight was because I noticed on the camera that you were drinking what looked like some sort of soft drink, and knowing that you are with child, I said, hey, what are you drinking over there? And you said you were drinking ginger ale because your stomach was a little upset.
Yeah, exactly. I've, watching your caffeine, all that good stuff, but ginger ale's been my buddy for a few weeks now, so.
Yeah, I could understand that. Well, if anybody wants to say congratulations to Laurel and offer any kind of unsolicited advice, by all means, hit us up in the open mic in the WDBO app, and we'll go through and listen to some of the unsolicited advice.
Oh, yeah, with a last name like Lee, there's so many that you can come up with if you're just going to, just the air name is Lee, so there you can come up with Mary
Lee.
Frank says Frank Lee.
Somebody,
Lee. Yeah, see, there's so many Lees.
Somebody previously said Oakley. So, yeah, lots of...
First name Annie, middle name Oak.
Yeah. Well, I without even knowing what the answer is, I am certain that it is going to have some sort of takeoff from Star Wars, the Star Wars universe. I mean, it's got to, if Kylo Ren Lee.
Listen, I just saw somebody comment that she named her son Anakin Vader.
Yeah.
What?
That's dedication.
Now let me tell you, I'll share a little bit of personal stuff here. We adopted my baby daughter when she was only 13 months old, but her birth name was her parents named her after a Star Trek character.
Which one?
It was Belliana.
Huh.
Belliana. It was from one of the newer Star Treks, but Belliana. So we officially made it Bella. So her name is Bella.
I love that name.
I do too. I like Bella. All right. Well, Laurel, congratulations. If you need any other unsolicited advice, I'm your guy. I'm happy to offer you all kinds of unsolicited advice. I will tell you that I was the world's greatest parent until I became a parent. And then I realized how hard it was. And then I was like, wow, this is hard. I am not a good parent at all. I'm terrible at this. All right, it is time for the presidential pinger. We have secretly low-jacked each of the presidential candidates. We're tracking them around the United States. We call it the Joe Kelley presidential pinger. We're pinging them right now. 5 days away from 5 states voting. That's going to be Connecticut, Delaware, New York, Rhode Island, and Wisconsin. And then we'll just see a mishmash smattering of states that are going to vote through early June. The Republican National Convention is going to be in Milwaukee. That's coming up mid-July. And then mid-August, the Democratic National Convention is going to be in Chicago. We are today 222 days away from the general election. All right, where are the candidates today? Well, they're both in New York. President Joe Biden is in the Big Apple tonight for a star-studded fundraiser with former presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton and late show host Stephen Colbert. Gosh, I wonder what side of the political spectrum Stephen Colbert resides. More than 5,000 people are expected to hit Radio City Music Hall for the event in person, with thousands more watching online. The cheapest tickets start at $250 and go up to $500,000 for smaller receptions. If you want a photo with all 3 presidents, that'll cost you $100,000. The campaign says Biden is going to break fundraising records, bringing in $25 million for a one-night only event. All that money is fine and dandy, I suppose. But everybody, both of the candidates, Biden and Trump, have 100% name recognition. So I don't know how that's going to be an advantage to Joe Biden to run campaign ads. After investigating the possibility of joining the no labels bid in recent weeks, going so far as to commission polling in a dozen states and tallying up a potential campaign budget, Chris Christie has decided to not make a centrist third-party bid. I don't know if you guys know this, but Joe Lieberman, who passed away yesterday at the age of 82 after a fall, was one of the founders and one of the leaders of the No Labels organization. A YouGov survey conducted from March 24 through 26, that's just a couple days ago, finds that 64% of Republican-leaning independents and Republicans would approve of Ron DeSantis taking the VP slot. 64% say Ron DeSantis should be the VP. That is the highest positive number in a field of candidates that include Ben Carson, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Not on the list is Marco Rubio. They didn't poll on Marco Rubio, whose name has been mentioned multiple times with regards to becoming the vice presidential candidate under Donald Trump. That wraps up our presidential panger tonight. Speaking about losing my mind up in here, y'all about to get crazy with wine. Can I see a show of hands? Do we have any wine drinkers in our audience? If you're in your car, raise your hand. Yep, I can see on the traffic cams. Look at all those people raising their hands. If you like wine, have I got good news for you. I'll have the skinny on the wine story for you coming up. Stay with us here on the Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
We all have that friend who wakes up early to go get everyone McDonald's breakfast, while the rest of us sleep in. This is your sign to thank them. And if you're that friend, this is us saying thank you.
Just a friendly reminder that right now, get any size iced coffee before 11 a.m. for just 99 cents. And a satisfying sausage McMuffin with egg is just $2.79. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk.
You're listening to the Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. We got a whole bunch of open mics here. People really have a lot to say.
From Sean in St. Cloud. Congratulations, Laurel.
Woo! Absolutely so, yes.
Joe, other unsolicited advice for naming a child is to open the Bible blindly and then choosing the first name that's there. I felt lucky to be named James, but my brothers Nimrod and Jehoshaphat, well, they took a little ribbing at school. You all have a great day, and congratulations, Lon.
Honestly, it wasn't until I became a real Christian 5 years or so ago that I realized that Nimrod is in the Bible. I always thought Nimrod was just an insult. I didn't realize that Nimrod, I don't think I'm at that chapter, at that book yet, but I believe it's a city. It's a place, not a person, I think. I could be wrong, though. All right, so we'll get more of your reaction, more open mics about Laurel's big announcement coming up for you in just a couple of minutes.
Stepping out of the office elevator and into today's top stories. Here's what you missed while you were at work.
Well, this is not the kind of story you want to have on opening day of baseball. Tampa Bay shortstop Wander Franco has been put on administrative leave through June 1st, while an investigation continues into an alleged relationship with a minor. And by the way, they mean a minor as in a child, not someone who digs underground. Oh, hang on. My wife just texted me. Nimrod is a warrior in Genesis. Oh, then I have read that. I just didn't retain it. Evidently, Nimrod is actually a warrior in Genesis. Thank you, sweetie. Let's see. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried sentenced to 20 years for defrauding customers of the collapsed multi-billion-dollar cryptocurrency exchange. The Biden administration restores rules to protect imperiled plants and animals that had been rolled back under former President Donald Trump. Honestly, I thought that Joe Biden had already rolled back all of the Trump executive orders and such. I'm surprised there are still orders that he hasn't already rolled back. The International Court of Justice orders Israel to take measures to ensure food gets into Gaza unhindered. House Speaker Mike Johnson has announced that the impeachment articles for the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas will be sent over the Senate on April 10th, the week that Congress returns from their Easter recess. And finally, James Comer officially invites Joe Biden to testify before the House Oversight Committee. Hashtag fat chance. Fat chance that the President of the United States of America is going to testify to the House Oversight Committee. And honestly, nor should he. Nor should he. These are co-equal branches of government, and the House Oversight Committee can do their investigation. But if it was the other way around, if it was Democrats calling for Donald Trump, you would probably agree with me and say, no, not going to happen. And similarly, it shouldn't be that way for Joe Biden. Are you okay? If you're a wine drinker, Laurel, back in the day, I mean, you not prior to being pregnant, you like wine.
Yeah, very much.
I'm not a wine drinker. I mean, if it's served to me, I'll drink it. But I'm not a big wine guy. Well, Governor DeSantis signed a new law today that governs the size of wine containers. Beginning July 1st, retailers and manufacturers can sell directly to consumers wine containers up to 15 liters. Now, none of us are good at math, and heaven knows none of us figured out the metric system. But do you know how much wine 15 liters is? I'll help you out. It's about 4 gallons. 4 gallons. And I had to look this up because, like I said, I'm not a big wine drinker, but I have become an expert on wine bottle sizes in the last 6.5 minutes. I know everything there is to know now about wine bottle sizes. Do you know what they call a standard bottle of wine that has 75 milliliters in it? What do they call a standard bottle of wine?
The standard.
That's right. They call it a standard bottle. So a 1.5 liter is called a what?
Big standard.
It's called a magnum. A 2.25 liter, which is 3 bottles, is called a Marie Jean. A 3 liter is called a double magnum. Aren't those also condoms?
And a gun, isn't it?
A 5 liter bottle is called a Jeroboam. A 6 liter bottle is called an Imperial. A 9 liter bottle is called a Salmanazar. A 12 liter bottle is called a Balthazar. And a 15 liter bottle. And these, when I saw that there were going to be, 4 gallons of wine, I figured that had to be, it's got to be like a box or something like that. No, these are bottles. These are gigantic bottles of wine. A 4-gallon or 15-liter bottle, which contains the wine of 20 bottles. 20 bottles in a single bottle. It is called a Nebuchadnezzar. Now, right along with that last open mic in getting names out of the Bible, Nebuchadnezzar is a name that's in the Bible. It's also a name that's in history, in world history. But Nebuchadnezzar was a Babylonian king in pre-Christ era, so BC era. But he and if you read the book of Daniel, you'll see the name Nebuchadnezzar quite a bit, as Daniel in the Bible was able to accurately predict the dreams of Nebuchadnezzar. And so Nebuchadnezzar, while he was said to be an absolute tyrant and a terrible person, he kind of took in Daniel, who is one of Christianity's greatest prophets, and made him a bit of a I don't want to say a king, but did good things for him. So a Nebuchadnezzar. So if you want to go buy after you deliver your baby daughter, if you want to go buy a 15-liter bottle, you'll say, "May I please have a Nebuchadnezzar of rosé?" Or
what was the name of the one before that?
Balthazar.
Isn't he one of the wise men?
I got nothing.
I thought he was one of the 3 wise men.
Maybe he is.
I think there's a couple of biblical names in there.
And then there is a 18-liter bottle that's called the Melchior. And that's 24 bottles in a single bottle.
Oh,
so there you go. Big bottles of wine are coming to Publix near you.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. Breaking news to lively debates, covering the issues that matter to you.
I make it a point to listen to Joe Kelley when I need to fully understand what's happening in the news.
Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's news and talk, WDBO.
All right, cleanse your mental palate for a second from what we were just talking about in the last couple of segments. We're pivoting. I got something else here. So think about the bridge collapse in Baltimore. This woman made a video today, and it's been really making the rounds virally. And I'm curious if anybody else does this. Listen to this woman, what she says they do. Her family does when they cross over big bridges.
One who, as a child, was told you have to roll down all the windows in your car every time you drove across a bridge. I know I'm not the only one. We had family friends who had a lake house up in Maine, and that was where I was introduced to this theory. Every time we drove across the bridge, they'd be like, roll down the windows. In case the bridge collapses, you need to swim out the windows of the car to safety. And I, over the years, conditioned myself that that's a borderline irrational thing. Like, you don't have to roll all the windows down in your car every time you go across a bridge. But what? That is absolutely terrifying. That bridge up in Maryland, like, just collapsed, like Legos fell into the river.
Interesting. And, she's not wrong on that advice. I mean, particularly if you drive like a Tesla, because it's going to short out the second it hits the water. And even for the rest of us that have electric windows. I mean, your car is going to short out the second it hits the water, and you're not going to be able to roll down the windows. And if there's water on the outside of your vehicle and there's air on the inside of your vehicle, you're not going to be able to open the doors to get out. So that's pretty good advice, isn't it?
I guess it's just going to be a loud, windy ride as you go over. Hopefully it's on a long bridge.
You'd be screaming all the way down. When I was a kid growing up, I lived in Southeast Texas, and Southeast Texas is really, really, really flat. And there was a bridge called the Rainbow Bridge, and not the Rainbow Bridge that your pets cross when they come to the end of their lives. It was just called the Rainbow Bridge. And this was just this giant steel and concrete bridge that had to be tall enough that oil tankers would be able to go underneath it. And I remember that was the most frightening bridge to go over it. And at the time, when I was a teenager, that was kind of like the driving test. It's like, all right, if you can make it over the Rainbow Bridge without hitting anything or freaking out, then you'll get your driver's license, that kind of thing. But I was in a school bus once going to some event, I don't know, whatever it was. But as we were going up on a school bus, the bus driver suddenly lifts up the steering wheel. It came detached from the steering wheel shaft, and suddenly our bus driver's holding the steering wheel up in the air. That's scary, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Holy moly.
I was a little rattled by that. Obviously, it still sticks in my mind, and she was able to put it back down and get it to work until we got off the Rainbow Bridge. But that's just terribly, terribly frightening. But it seems like it's a good idea. I think I might start doing that, crossing over water. Next time I'm like on the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. Even though that was not supposed to collapse, maybe I'll roll down my windows as I'm going across that. Lots of open mics. If you missed it earlier, we had breaking news earlier in this show. As Laurel Lee is with child right now.
For some unsolicited advice, it's the hardest job you'll ever have, but it's the most rewarding.
I don't know if that's advice, but it's still a nice thought, nice notion.
Well, congratulations on the new baby. My wife is actually also in her second trimester, and it's a little girl. So we're about the same time. But luckily, my wife never had morning sickness at all. So, but congratulations, and going through the process with you, apparently.
All right, and Laurel, evidently someone wants to give you a name recommendation.
Lady McLeeface. Yeah?
No.
No?
Probably not.
Now I'm just going to call it Baby McBabyface till I know what it is.
Yes, Baby McBabyface. And then I don't know if this open mic is going to make you feel really, really good or make you feel really, really bad. This could go either way. Take a listen.
So I thought Laurel Lee was in her 60s. She speaks well and has a older name, so I had to look up what she looked like, and she's not 64. So congratulations.
Laurel, are you in your 60s?
I am not. I'm half of that.
Because that would be a thing. If you were in your 60s and pregnant, that would be quite a story.
That'd be real breaking news.
Yeah. I mean,
incredible.
I think someone has given birth older than that, but that would still be pretty high up on the list of ages of people who are pregnant. So, yeah.
Hey, Laura, congratulations. And Joe's unsolicited advice. You said it. Don't listen to no unsolicited advice.
Yeah. Find people that you trust. Find mothers that you trust, be it your mother or your husband's mother or a dear friend that you know has children. Find someone that you trust and ask that person, what would you do in a situation like this? What do you do? How do I handle this? How do I deal with this? But when people offer unsolicited advice, just try to drown them out or drown them. I don't care.
That's what we're going to do this weekend. I have a dear friend who's actually a week behind me in her pregnancy, but she's on her third. So I'm going to sit down with her this weekend and make the baby registry.
Oh, yeah.
There's all kinds of nonsense they tell you need, and then, mothers come out and we're like, we never use that. Don't waste your money on that.
Sure.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do this time around.
And you'll be sure to let us know when and where you're registered?
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great. Thank you.
There's so many great places that you can register these days. It used to just be like Toys R Us or whatever. But man, you can go to Target or
Amazon.
Amazon,
yeah.
Actually, Amazon is a great way to register for a baby shower and stuff like that. Well, that's very, very exciting. So again, great. Congratulations, Laurel. We're all very, very happy for you. We are following, of course, the breaking news of Orange County Commissioner Regina Hill getting arrested this morning. You heard about it on Orlando's Morning News with Scott Inez. We do have some updates for you this afternoon as she has now bonded out of jail. She has already appeared in front of a judge today. She has pleaded not guilty. She has denied all the charges against her. We're going to have a full report on Regina Hill coming up for you in just a few minutes. So stay with us here. You're listening to The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Orange, Seminole, Osceola, and all of Central Florida. Join the conversation now by using the open mic in the WDBO app. Now, The Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's News and Talk, WDBO.
So we're talking about this woman who says that anytime she goes over a big bridge, she rolls down the windows of her car so that if the bridge were to suddenly collapse for whatever reason, she'd be able to swim out straight away and not have to try to get the window open or the car door open against the pressure. If you've got air inside the car and water outside the car, you're not going to be able to open up that door.
I used to work in the North Sea, and part of that is you have to have what they call a Hewitt training, which is helicopter underwater escape training. And it is incorrect that you cannot open the doors underwater. You just have to apply constant force. Not trying to push it open like a madman. It's just constant force on pushing, and it will open.
By the way, that same open mic can apply to you, Laurel, on giving birth. Constant pressure, it'll get it open. Just keep the force and press and...
That'll be my mantra when the day comes.
Yes,
thank you.
Just constant pressure.
Constant pressure.
Constant pressure. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
After going across the bridge to Largo near Tampa, I believe there was a day that a car went off, and so we bought the glass breaker things in case we drive into the water or it collapses, I guess, so that we can use those little glass breaking hammers to get out.
I was just thinking about that this week, now that you mention it. So I carry in my back pocket a switchblade knife. And on the back side, on the butt of the knife is a glass breaker. And so that's always in my back pocket. So I at all times have in my back pocket a switchblade in case I get into a gang fight, and if the Jets and the Sharks ever show up in my neighborhood, I will be ready to go with the switchblade. Honestly, you know what I use this switchblade for more than anything else? Opening mail and opening packages from Amazon and stuff like that. I'm always like, oh wait, I've got a knife. That's right. That's not a knife. But it has a glass breaker on the back end of it, which honestly, I don't know that the knife will ever come in handy when it comes to saving my life, but the glass breaker I think could, because I had bought one of those little hammers, but unless you secure it on the inside of your car, if your car rolls down an embankment and into a pond, if you just kept that in your center console, you're never going to be able to find that hammer. Paul,
you know what you're going to use in Florida? You're going to need a shotgun or a hammer for an alligator if you go into a pond, or if you go over some. Lake Jessup is only 5 feet deep, but they have it's alligator lake.
It's like one of those cartoons where you can run across the whole lake by skipping across the backs of alligators. That's how Lake Jessup is. Lake Jessup. For those who don't know, if you're new to Orlando, new to Central Florida area, Lake Jessup was the dumping grounds for alligators in other lakes, particularly in Winter Park. So in the Winter Park chain of lakes there, where they have those really lovely Winter Park boat tours, and they've got beautiful mansions all lining the lake. Well, the early developers there didn't want all the alligators, and they didn't want to just go kill them all, so they relocated them and they dumped them all into Lake Jessup. And at dusk, as the sun is setting, you can really see the alligators, their little eyeballs, those beady little eyeballs popping up out of the water as you're crossing the bridge on Lake Jessup. But I would never, ever go water skiing or anything like that in Lake Jessup. Do they even allow that in Lake Jessup? Or jets? I
don't think I've ever seen that. They have a lot of boat tours, though. They have a lot of those big boat tours in Lake Jessup because you're guaranteed to see a dozen gators or so.
Yeah, as long as you keep your arms and hands inside the ride at all times, you'll be just fine. But those airboats, every now and again, we'll report a story of an airboat flipping, and that's always the last boat I want to be on that flips.
But it's funny here in Florida, the more people I talk to about, going over bridges, and people are afraid to go over bridges, like that woman that just said she rolls down her windows. More people are afraid of going over a bridge and into the water because of the gators, not just because of the water. There's a lot of other things in that water. It's like jumping the shark tank. You don't want to land in the water because there's something worse than water in there.
By the way, have you guys seen the Roadhouse remake on Amazon Prime? Laurel, did you watch it yet?
I've been too busy finishing the other show.
The Gentleman?
I've heard it was horrible.
I beg to differ.
Okay, good.
I actually liked it. I watched it twice. But spoiler,
Did you really?
But spoiler alert, because it's in the trailer, so it's not like I'm telling you anything that you don't know. But the new Roadhouse takes place in the Florida Keys. On a fake island. I mean, the island is real, but it's fictitious. It's called Glass Key. There is no key called Glass Key. But it takes place in the Florida Keys, so it makes it a little bit more relatable, I think, for us here in Florida. But one of the bad guys gets eaten by a crocodile. Not an alligator, but a crocodile. And they have crocodiles down there. They have them. The alligators are more common, but they do have crocodiles as well. But anyhow, so that happened. So spoiler alert. But again, that was in the trailer, so it's not like I'm telling you anything that wasn't in the trailer anyway. All right, coming up next, we're going to have full reporting on the arrest today, the arraignment and posting of bond to Orange County Commissioner Regina Hill. We'll have your full details coming up next. Stay with us here on The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Now, from the Bogan Munz & Munz WDBO Traffic Center. Auto accident? Choose Bogan Munz & Munz.
Still monitoring the traffic through downtown right now. It's looking just as bad as it did a half an hour ago. I thought it maybe lighten up a little bit, but westbound I-4 from Parr onto the 408 eastbound, and then you're on and off the brakes there. all the way through to Azalea Park. I'll give you a full update on all the traffic in just a few minutes. ProTech Air Conditioning and Plumbing Service for honesty, integrity, and 100% customer satisfaction. Call ProTech 407-502-6263 or visit ProTechAC.com. From the WDBO Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. Talk and discussion on the latest breaking national news.
Crude oil prices continue to fall.
Local news.
You're not going to have Disney have its own government in Central Florida.
And stories that matter to you. Use the open mic in the WDBO app and let your voice be heard on the Joe Kelley Show.
I'm so glad you're joining us here on this Thursday of Holy Week. Tomorrow is Good Friday, then Sunday is Easter. The weather is going to be gorgeous on Easter Day. It's going to be sunny. If your kids are doing Easter egg hunts, it's going to be just perfect. The grass is going to be dry. We're not going to have any kind of rain to worry about, so it's going to be just beautiful as we head into the weekend. We've been following this story throughout the day today as Orange County, Orlando City Commissioner Regina Hill is arrested this morning. She turned herself in to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement headquarters here in Orlando. And we turn to our news partner, Channel 9 Eyewitness News investigative reporter Shannon Butler with the latest.
She walked out of the Orange County Jail just about an hour ago. She had nothing to say to reporters as she got into a car and drove away. But Florida Department of Law Enforcement investigators had plenty to say, telling us that she took advantage of a vulnerable woman that she had access to because of her position.
Regina Hill.
Commissioner Regina Hill made her first appearance today after a grand jury indicted her on 7 counts. And she had nothing to say to us as she left the jail today. Channel 9 was the first to tell you about the year-long FDLE investigation involving a 96-year-old constituent. The investigation looked into accusations that Hill forged documents to become the woman's guardian, allowing her to take her home and to spend $100,000 of the woman's money on things like facelifts and dental surgery.
Mrs. Hill effectively betrayed the trust of her community by taking advantage of a 96-year-old elderly citizen, which is one of the most vulnerable in that community. A victim who was the last of her family in the area was manipulated and lied to. Her finances and personal information misused and abused for Hill's personal benefit. Obviously extremely tragic.
Hill's office has made no statement, but an attorney speaking for her today said she denies the allegations. She did enter a not guilty plea in court today. The attorney today wouldn't say whether or not she'd be resigning her seat today or any time this week. What he did say, though, is the first order of business would be to try to get a change of venue because of the publicity here, because Regina Hill is so known in this community. And he said that she has been scrutinized over the years more than anyone else in her position. In Orlando, Shannon Butler, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Shannon, thank you. Commissioner Hill's arrest could lead to a special election to determine who serves out the remainder of her term if she is removed from office or resigns. Channel 9's Nick Campantonis continues our live team coverage live outside the Orange County Courthouse. And Nick, have you heard back from the governor's office today about whether he will remove her from office?
I was just texting with them in the last hour. They have no updates for me at this time. Obviously, this is on their radar. And I asked the governor if he would be taking that step of suspending her when he was here in Orlando in this building behind me yesterday. He said if the charges were serious, he would follow normal procedure.
It's extremely unfortunate and concerning, obviously.
Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer reacting just hours after the arrest of Commissioner Regina Hill on 7 charges, including mortgage fraud and exploitation. Charges severe enough that Governor DeSantis is expected to suspend the 11-year commissioner from office, which could force Orlando to call a special election to replace her if she's removed from office or resigns.
I would assume that's what's going to happen. We'll have to see if this happens, what the indictment looks like.
We're consulting with the supervisor of elections now on dates.
And during the initial breaking news segment of this newscast, your phone rang. You answered it. It was Shannon Butler's live report, and it was Commissioner Regina Hill. What did she say?
It was indeed. And so I had to step away from the news desk, and she said
it's not true. She said she is determined to fight the allegations against her. She says she does feel that she has been silent for too long, so she does want to talk. She's trying to sort all of that out with her attorney. She has more than one attorney she shared with me, but she said, it's just not true. There is much more to the story. She also said that she appreciated the support from those in the community who have reached out to her, but she was very adamant that these charges are not going to stick.
That reporting tonight from Channel 9 Eyewitness News on the arrest of Regina Hill. She is bonded out of jail with a $40,000 bond. I don't know where to go with this. She has had kind of a dodgy sketch background, and she has represented the Pine Hills area and part of Paramount, actually more Paramount than Pine Hills, and she's got a dodgy past, and she's had some priors, and but that. As long as she was representing her constituencies, well. But with regards to her current charges, none of us have seen the evidence. I don't know what there is to discuss about this, to be honest with you. If you've got something you want to say about it, you knock yourself out, 844-580-WDBO, or use the open mic in the WDBO app. These are very serious charges, and she will most certainly be kicked off the Orange County Commission. The Orlando City Commission. There's a difference. She's on the Orlando City Commission. She is not on the Orange County Commission. She will most certainly be kicked off of the Orlando City Commission, if not by the city commissioners, but by Governor Ron DeSantis. One or the other or both will certainly kick her off of the city commission. I don't know why we don't call it a city council, like most other municipalities do, because we call both our Orange County and our Orlando representatives commissioners, but IIWII. So we're going to let this play out in court and see what happens. Clearly, the FDLE seems to think that they have good evidence on this, and I would expect that quite likely, almost assuredly, she'll lose her seat. Quite likely, she will see the inside of a jail. Regina Hill, again, arrested early this morning, and she is already bonded out. She did, for what it's worth, when she left the jail, she got into a beautiful, seemingly brand new white Mercedes-Benz SUV. I don't know if that's her vehicle or a vehicle of a supporter or a friend or whatever it is, but I know that the city commissioners don't make that much money that she would have a Mercedes, a brand new Mercedes, white SUV. It's a nice car. I drive a Chevy Malibu, so just for comparison's sake. We'll continue to follow the story for you, bring you all the latest information. Of course, tune in tomorrow morning on Orlando's Morning News with Scott Inez. He'll have the latest details. Back to the bridge collapse in Baltimore. One of the construction workers, 8 construction workers were on the bridge, and 6 of them went into the water, we're told. 2 have been recovered, so that leaves, I guess, 4 more. I can do basic math at least, so it leaves 4 in the water. Thank you, Laurel, for holding up 4 fingers. I could do that math. I was just trying to make sure I was counting right in that, if it was 8 that went in the water or 6 that went in the water, but I think it was 6 that went in the water because there were 8 people on the crew, but 2 of them didn't go in the water.
Mm-hmm. Whatever makes you feel better.
No, do we not understand that to be the case?
Yes, I think you're right.
And early reports indicated that it was the construction crews that stopped the traffic on the bridge. We have subsequently heard, and I don't mean this as any kind of besmirch on the construction crews, but we have subsequently heard the audio that it was the police who stopped the traffic on the bridge. Within 90 seconds of the ship sending out a distress call, police on both sides stopped traffic. And then one of the officers said to the other officer on the other side, one on the northbound side, one on the southbound side, one of them said, "Is there a construction crew on the bridge?" That was when they realized there was a construction crew, and one of the police officers hopped in his car and was going to drive to the center of the bridge to get the construction crews off the bridge when the bridge collapsed. And fortunately for that officer, he had not gotten to them yet. Otherwise, he would have gone into the water with them as well. It's interesting to hear stories after the fact. A construction worker is thanking God, mourning his colleagues, after he revealed that he was meant to be working on the bridge that morning, but he had swapped shifts with someone. How would you feel if you were that guy? You'd no doubt feel relieved you're alive, but I wonder if he will suffer from survivor's guilt. Survivor's guilt is a very, very real thing. I had a friend of mine years ago who was supposed to be on an airplane. This was in 2001 in the state of Oklahoma. And the Oklahoma State Cowboys basketball team was flying on a small, members of, not the whole team. The whole team was flying, I think, on a big jet. But a couple of members of the basketball team and 6 of the Oklahoma State broadcasters and members of the coaching staff were all in a Beechcraft Super King that went down when the pilots became spatially disoriented in a snowstorm. And it killed everybody on the plane. Well, with 6 broadcasters being on the plane, it's not hard to imagine that I would know one or so of those broadcasters. Well, one of the ones that I knew, at the last minute swapped seats and didn't end up flying on that plane. And can I tell you, that guy was so screwed up mentally after that happened. I mean, to this day, the survivor's guilt of reliving that moment, that brief conversation you have with someone saying, hey, I'll take the bus, go ahead and take the plane, and swapping out at the last minute. That was the guy through whom I learned about survivor's guilt. And he never wanted to talk about it. He never had got counseling or anything else like that. But man, survivor's guilt is a very, very real thing. And I would imagine that construction worker, while thanking God that he survived, he will spend the rest of his days feeling like, oh my gosh, I should have been there. The other guy that died shouldn't have been there. It's my fault. Even though that's not logical, that's what he'll think. We also know that the pilot of the freighter had radioed for tugboat help and reported a power loss minutes before the ship collided with the bridge. They've already recovered the black box data recorder. They know that from listening to the black box audio and reading the telemetry and stuff on the data recorder. I'm sure a lot of you guys know this. My father worked for the Texaco Marine Division, so I spent a lot of my youth hanging around oil tankers, Texaco oil tankers to be specific. So I had a bit of a merchant marine upbringing. And if you ever go on a cruise, you see this when you go on a cruise, that there is a captain on a ship and then there's a pilot. And the pilot is only brought onto the ship for a short period of time. The pilots are experts at local ports and marinas. Pilots know exactly how to navigate a ship in and out of a port, whereas a captain cannot possibly know the nuances of every port that they go into. Where the water is shallow, where the water is deep, where there's an obstruction, where there's a reef. Captains can't possibly know that. So as a ship is coming into a bay, a small boat that says pilot on it will go out to the ship, come up alongside, and a skilled and highly paid pilot will get off of his small boat and climb onto a rickety ladder into a ship, and then he'll go up to the bridge. He will take control of the bridge and the crew on the bridge while the ship is brought into or out of port. So in this particular case, the captain, while ultimately he is in command, it's his ship, but it was the pilot who was steering. And honestly, this, at least at first glance, doesn't look like it's going to come down to human error unless, one of the things they're looking at with this ship collision is contaminated fuel. You ever go to the gas station to get gas for your car and you drive away and your car sputters? Oftentimes that's a sign that you just got bad gas. And it happens. It happens. Sometimes there'll be a contaminant in a fuel tank underneath the gas station, and then you're pumping it into your car, and then you've got a contaminated gas into your car. It happens from time to time. And evidently it has been happening with our merchant marines, with cargo ships. And so that is the number one thing they're looking at right now, as to whether or not that ship had contaminated fuel on it, which would have caused a potential power outage on the ship as it experienced it. Coming up next, the Mexican president. The Mexican president is sticking his nose into the Baltimore bridge collapse. I promise you're not going to like what he has to say, but I'll say it nonetheless. Coming up next, stay with us on The Joe Kelley Show.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. In-depth segments on topics that matter to Orange, Seminole, Osceola, and all of Central Florida. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
I love your show every night. You're doing great, bud.
So Mexico's president, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, says the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore shows that, quote, migrants go out and do risky jobs at midnight, and as a result, they do not deserve to be treated as they are by certain insensitive, irresponsible politicians in the United States. Oh, you know what? Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, deal with your own problems, all right? You're part of our problems. You deal with your own problems there before you butt in on our problems, all right? That aggravates me. All right, so if you're just joining us, we're talking about Regina Hill, which I didn't have a whole lot to say about Regina Hill. It's a legal process. I don't know what debate or discussion there is to have here.
Don't know anything about the lady. I have heard she's got a sketchy past, but that doesn't matter. She is innocent until proven guilty. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. But, she's innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, that's kind of where my head's at.
Hey, this is George from Orlando. Just out of curiosity, what is Mrs. Hill's political affiliation?
Well, I think you know. The Orlando City Commission is nonpartisan, but she, like Buddy Dyer, is a Democrat.
That is hilarious. She bonded out of jail with whose money? That old lady's?
Don't they have to, when they get, money for bond, don't they have to verify the source of the money? Because that would be terrible if that's the case. We're also talking about if you get submerged in water falling off of a bridge in your car.
To break the glass when you're submerged underwater, you pop off the headrest from your front seat and you use the metal stake.
I had read the same, and curiously, I recently reupholstered the seats in my car. And that included the headrests. And my front seat headrests do not come out. They're not designed to come out. The back seat ones do, but to climb into the back seat while I'm underwater and stuff, that elevates that process. So, as I like to say, your mileage may vary on that particular one. We also announced that Laurel is with child.
Hey guys, I just want to wish Laurel the best of luck with everything. For the new pregnancy. I think she's a beautiful woman. First time I tuned into the live feed, I saw Laurel and I was like, wait a second, that's Laurel Lee?
Yeah, right? I know, it's crazy.
Aw, thank you.
People tune in and say, that's Laurel Lee, and then that's followed immediately by, that's Joe Kelley. So, yeah, I understand that. One more.
Congratulations.
Well, my unsolicited advice is if you have something that your parents did and you didn't like, try to think about it when you're raising your kids so you know not to repeat everything all over again.
Yeah, break the cycle. Good advice. 6:30 now. You're listening to the Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. News, weather, traffic, all the things you want on your drive home. Plus, Joe Kelley being, well, Joe Kelley. Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's news and talk, WDBO.
One of the guys on the construction crew on the bridge that collapsed in Baltimore, there was a guy who swapped shifts with somebody and should have been on the bridge that night but wasn't. And I made reference to survivor's guilt, and, you know, it's a real thing that people are afflicted by.
Survivor's guilt is a real thing. My wife and I ended up taking a flight a day early from Puerto Vallarta to San Francisco, Alaska Flight 261. On the day we were scheduled to leave, crashed into the Pacific with friends of ours on the flight. We ended up surviving, and we're still here 24 years later. But we still think about our friends every day, and we thank God that we're still here and serving His purpose.
You know, and that's I would feel the same way. I mean, like, talk about every day being a gift. You know, I would think at that point every day would just be an absolute gift, and you would have to have a purpose in life, you know, moving forward from there. Thank you so much for sharing that story with us. Hey, do you guys want to hear something gross?
Always.
Yes, thank you. Paul, are you down for something gross?
No, but go ahead. I know you're going to do it anyway.
Probably. Jacob, are you down for something gross?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. That's the right answer. Jake's new here, so the answer to do you want to hear something gross is always yes. So Harvard University is getting rid of one of the books in their library. And unlike some of the books that we've seen getting moved out of libraries here in Florida, it's not for the same reason. So Harvard has had a book in one of their libraries dating back to the 19th century, which you would think would be the 1900s, but it's not. It's the 1800s. That has always bothered me. I think we should reset the calendars, but that's a different topic for a different day. So they've had a book from the 19th century, and the book is it's French. It's a French book. And the book itself is not problematic. It's how the book was bound is problematic. The book is bound with human skin.
Jeez.
So, you know, like a leather-bound book, but it's human leather. Human skin, again, dating back to the 1800s. The skin, if you want to know where the skin came from, the skin is from an unknown woman who died in a French psychiatric hospital. So Harvard University has now said that they're going to remove, well, they say they're going to remove the book's binding. I would think at that point, the skin has been on that book long enough. Let's just get rid of the whole book. All right?
It's like Silence of the Lambs type of stuff.
We just talked about that last night.
What's even worse is it wasn't originally bound in skin. A psychiatrist who ended up owning the book was the one that bound it in skin.
I mean, it's just weird.
For some reason.
Yeah, it's all very, very weird. So it seems as if they're just going to get rid of the skin portion of it. Then they're going to send it back to France so that it can be properly disposed of. And by properly disposed of, I mean they're going to have a funeral and they're going to bury it in France. So Harvard says they're going to arrange for a final respectful disposition of these human remains. The school also acknowledged that it had over the years sensationalized the book and further objectified and compromised the dignity of the human being whose remains were used for its binding. So I guess they were like, hey, we got a book with human skin on it. That's pretty gross.
That is deeply disturbing.
Yes, I thought you guys would find that to be disturbing.
I have so many jokes, Joe, but I can't say them.
Yeah,
I will refrain from saying.
Good. That's a good call. How bad is the crime in Los Angeles? It is so bad. Residents in Chinatown, in the Chinatown district of L.A., are being urged to surrender to thieves. This following a brutal robbery of an elderly woman. The woman was robbed and stabbed multiple times. In fact, one witness says she was stabbed, 12 times. A woman, and an older woman, she was Laurel's age. She was in her 60s. She was robbed and stabbed 12 times. She remains in the hospital, but she wouldn't let go of her belongings. And now city officials and the police are saying, from now on, don't fight back against thieves, just surrender to the thieves. She evidently had important personal items in the bag, like medical cards, IDs, and all those kinds of things. Yeah, the things that we all have in our bags and wallets and such. So I would agree that things aren't worth dying over. But how pathetic and ridiculous and sad for California that the advice they give now is just surrender to thieves. Don't you think that also empowers thieves? Don't you think, thieves get like the Thieves Monthly email, right? There's an email blast that goes out to thieves. And I'm sure at the top of the email blast that goes out to thieves, there's a big headline that says, victims are now urged to surrender to thieves. And all the thieves are like, oh, this is great news. This is empowering. Now we can go rob anybody and they're not going to fight back. That just seems terrible. Terrible advice. Let's just surrender. Let's just fly the white flag of surrender. Laurel, I know how you hate those robot dogs. Pivot.
I do hate those robot dogs.
Well, I think you'll appreciate the robot dog in Barnstable, Massachusetts.
Okay.
There was a police standoff with the Massachusetts State Police bomb squad. There was an armed man in a house, and they didn't want to enter the house because they knew the guy was armed. So they sent in robot dogs to check the first 2 floors before finding somebody in the basement. The person was armed with a rifle. The person with a rifle twice knocked over the robotic dog before shooting it 3 times and disabling its communication. They had 2 other robot dogs, and they were able to get the guy out. They deployed tear gas, and they arrested him. Boston Dynamics, the company that makes the robotic dog known as Spot, said in a statement it was the first time one of their robots had been shot. The company said, we're relieved that the only casualty that day was our robot. It's a great example of how mobile robots like Spot can be used to save lives. The robotic dog is sent now to Boston Dynamics. They're going to remove the bullets. I'm sure they're going to do a necropsy on the robotic dog. Would that still be called a necropsy?
I don't think so.
So they're going to take apart the robotic dog and probably find ways to strengthen them in the future. They said they're going to send a new unit to the state police. I wonder if they're going to charge them for the new unit. But that's kind of cool, right? That the robotic dog got shot rather than actual humans. That seems like a win-win to me.
I guess I'll give the robotic dogs a point.
All right. Give a point to Marie in our chat group. She says a techropsy instead of a necropsy. That's awesome. Dang it. I wish I thought of that. Oh, can we just rewind the tape and I'll just say techropsy and everybody laughs? I think they should call it a techropsy. It did not work. All right, hang on. We'll continue. Big unemployment numbers coming out of California. Speaking about circling the drain, the state of California. We'll explain, break it down for you coming up next. Stay with us here on The Joe Kelley Show.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. From the jazz age to the information age, WDBO has been there. Join us in saluting a century of broadcasting excellence. Happy 100th WDBO, the soundtrack to Orlando's history.
I got a lot of buddies who have survivor's guilt. They went over to Iraq and Afghanistan, and a lot of their buddies never made it home. And especially in combat, situation, it's really tough.
Yeah, I got a lot of sympathy because I have known people with that, and you're absolutely right. Survivor's guilt is very real, and for that one construction crew member who was quote unquote supposed to be on the bridge that night, that swapped shifts with somebody, I have no doubt that for the rest of his days, he will wonder, why me? Why did I survive? How is it I was not on the bridge that night? I should have been on the bridge that night. Why did the other guy die, not me? It's tough to deal with, I would think. All right, so next week is, and by the way, let me just caution everybody, is it Monday? Monday is April 1st, April Fool's Day. So let me just caution everybody that Monday is April Fool's Day. So just don't fall for anything on April Fool's Day. But in California, Monday marks the beginning of the $20 minimum wage for fast food workers. $20 minimum wage in California. And it's already having a big impact as restaurants are making cuts. They are laying off staff massively in California right now. So this new law requires fast food chains with 60 or more locations nationwide to pay $20 an hour to all employees. And evidently, it's affecting pizza places the most, according to the Wall Street Journal. Pizza Hut is laying off more than 1,000 delivery drivers in California. Some Pizza Hut franchises in California filed notices with the state saying they're discontinuing delivery altogether. Excalibur Pizza. Y'all ever heard of Excalibur Pizza? I don't think I have ever heard of Excalibur Pizza. It's a franchisee of Round Table Pizza. Has plans to cut 73% of jobs in April, which amounts to 21% of its workforce. No mention of how much, if at all, and it's not hard to imagine the if, but no mention how much food prices are going to go up because of the increase in the minimum wage. I'm Joe Kelley. Thank you so much for being a part of the show tonight. We'll be back with you on the radio tomorrow, 5 till 7 here on WDBO.
We all have that friend who wakes up early to go get everyone McDonald's breakfast, while the rest of us sleep in. This is your sign to thank them. And if you're that friend, this is us saying thank you.
Just a friendly reminder that right now, get any size iced coffee before 11 a.m. for just 99 cents. And a satisfying sausage McMuffin with egg is just $2.79. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.